G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And around about a year ago I compared my completely stock Honda Accord Euro to my friend's BMW 335i. But since then my Accord has seen some upgrades and so has my friend's 325i. So today I present to you 335i versus Honda Accord Euro. The exterior styling of these two cars is lovely. The E93 series has long been one of my favourite looking cars to come out of Munich in recent years. The New Zealand new ones like this surprisingly don't have the xenon headlights at the front, but it does still have a very BMW-esque front end. You've got the halos and the lights, you've got a big black kidney grille at the front and really nice looking 18-inch wheels. The back end of these facelift cars looks absolutely exquisite with LED taillights and the very cool looking honeycomb indicators. And of course this car's staple feature, with it being a 335i, is the big twin exhaust that sounds, well, as you'd expect. And believe it or not, that is the stock exhaust, whereas even my Accord with an aftermarket exhaust that you can see me installing by clicking up here is nowhere near as obnoxious. But the design of the car itself is very nice. There's no fancy LEDs or big bulges in the bonnet or anything like that, which really helps aid the timelessness of the design of this car. The sports kit ties in the exterior of this car really nicely, and the back looks really cool as well, with some very angular, striking looking taillights and big chunky twin exhausts. The interiors of both of these cars are equally comfortable and spacious. However, you definitely notice a theme going on with each. The BMW is an absolute nerd fest with buttons everywhere for the infotainment screen and the climate control and the radio and all over the steering wheel. But there's no denying it is absolutely feature packed with heated electric leather memory seats, a very comprehensive iDrive system that still remains very relevant even 11 years after this car came out. However, while the exterior of this car looks very elegant and nice, to be honest, there's nothing interesting or exciting about the interior of this car. It's just a great big slab of grey and black plastic everywhere that starts to become more and more sticky as it ages. The Accord by comparison has held up extremely well over time, with basically no wear or tear to be seen on the interior of this car at all. However, it's equipped like a Turkish urinal. It's got a radio, a CD player, and that's about it. However, I do quite like that aspect of it because there's nothing to date it and, most importantly, nothing to go wrong. Besides, it has everything a man could want. Comfy seats, cruise control, and a manual transmission, which is paired with a 2.4 litre inline-4 producing from factory 140 kilowatt and 233 newton meters. Now my car does have a few mods done to it. It's got an intake, a tune, and an exhaust, which is going to give, probably a 10 to 15 horsepower increase over the stock engine. In this case, it's paired with a delightful feeling 6-speed manual gearbox with the longest gear ratios known to man, and power is being sent to the front wheels. Whereas the BMW is rear wheel drive, and it's being powered by a 3 litre 6-cylinder twin turbocharged engine with 228 kilowatt and 400 newton meters. Now this is obviously a lot more than the Accord, so there's literally no point in doing a 0 to 100 comparison. So now it's time for the 0 to 100 comparison, starting with the BMW 335i. So there we go, the BMW managed to do it in 5.9 seconds, and now let's see what time my Accord can do. And there we are, as expected, my beloved Accord did it in 7 seconds, so well over a second off the pace of the BMW, which means there's absolutely no point in doing a rolling race. Oh, alright then. 3, 2, 1, go. Now I got wrecked, holy. Alrighty, driving the BMW 335i. This is definitely a quick car, man, there's no denying that. At the same time though, it's very tame power. It feels very progressive when the turbo comes on and you just put your foot down and you just ride this wave of torque, and the handling is very nice. Chuck it in second gear here. Get the back end hanging out just a little bit. And the steering is so quick and direct, like I'm barely having to turn the wheel any more than about a quarter of a turn to go through these. It would definitely be better if it had some paddles. I know these are available with paddles, so I'm not going to hold that against it, but so smooth, so fast, oh my goodness. On its own, you know, if you just jumped straight into this car would really impress you, there's no denying that. However, the topic of this video is 335i versus Accord. And in the 325i video, it was a little bit hard to compare them because the BMW had a few mods, had the exhaust, had an intake and everything, and it just generally felt like a much more exciting car to drive. Whereas now that my Accord has the mods, even though it's slower, as you saw before, there's a lot more atmosphere, I have to say. This car is very nice and smooth and comfortable and quiet to drive, but as a result, frankly, it's not the most interesting. And yes, it does all the pops and bangs, so to the people listening to you drive by, it will sound very exciting. But frankly, you know, to drive down that road, yeah, it puts a bit of a smile on your face and the torque is really nice, but I wouldn't call it exciting, to be honest. The Accord, on the other hand, we'll take it for a drive and see what we think, eh? I know this is going to be difficult to compare these two cars because, of course, one's modified, and add to that, this one is manual, which of course is going to aid in driver involvement as well. That BMW was absolutely fantastic, but compared with this, at least, it just lacks a little bit of driver enjoyment. It would make for an astonishingly good daily driver or a road trip mobile. You know, you've got power to overtake, it'll be great on the open road and everything, and it has features for Africa. But on a twisting back road, it's where the car starts to show some of its weaknesses. I mean, after all, that's what the M3 was for. The 335i is still fundamentally designed as a road car. It's kind of like my Accord Euro S versus a Euro R. The Euro R is at home on the track, whereas my Euro S is more suited to the open road. However, now that my Accord is modified, it's a different story. This is the kind of car where you put your foot down and you're just grinning from ear to ear as you are hit with the astonishing sound of a K24 2.4 4-cylinder VTEC. Oh, the sound alone is what makes this car so just astoundingly good. And do not get me wrong, this car is very fast now, but if you are looking for a car that you want to make into an absolute rocket ship, then the 335i is the way to go. You have 225 kilowatt right from the off, and if you want a bit more, like my friend who owns the car, you can get stage 1, stage 2, even stage 3 tunes for that car for next to nothing that completely transforms it. Whereas with this, it's really good to drive and sounds amazing, but I've poured 5, 6, 7 grand into this car and it's still not even close to the pace of that BMW. But I've long maintained that driving enjoyment doesn't just come from speed and power, and a car like this is what does it for me. If you want to see some comparisons that I've already put out with my Accord, then click over here to see me comparing it with a Subaru Legacy 3-litre R 6-speed manual, and click over here to see me comparing it with a Honda Accord Euro R. And I will look forward to seeing you again next time.